And if you're a replay viewer, say hello to me. If you know Jonathan and you know how techie he is, I asked him if he could make it possible for me to stream on Facebook and Instagram at the same time. And he set up something so next level that at this point I'm not even sure if anybody can see me. So if you can see me, please let me know. I'm actually going to take a second. I'm going to show you how fancy this is. Ready? Not just one camera. 2 cameras. Okay, let me take 1 second and see if I'm appearing as live. Let's see, I'm not seeing it there. Thank you for your patience if you are watching live and watching me fumble my way through this. Let's see. Restream. This is the most disconcerting sensation not being able to tell. Oh, I am. Okay, I can see it. I can see I'm at least live on Facebook. Not sure about Instagram, but this is all a grand adventure. So here's what we're discussing right now. I saw a post yesterday about self-doubt. And this person had asked, like, what are people's tools for self-doubt? And I thought it was such a fascinating question. Because I think that self-doubt is often misdiagnosed. So what does that look like? So, and more commonly than not, self-doubt is called resistance. So if you've ever read Steven Pressfield's book, The War on Art, which is a fun play on the reverse of The Art of War, it talks heavily about the idea of the resistance. So the resistance in the capital R, this is not a political resistance. This is a resistance to the work, with the work being the work with a capital W, a resistance to doing the work. Now, there's a number of reasons why the resistance happens, but usually people associate it to self-doubt. Now, in the case of when I'm working with clients and I see doubts, oftentimes people do one of two things, right? And it depends on whatever their preference is for the fight or flight or freeze or fawn or any of those things, right? But oftentimes this self-doubt isn't actually self-doubt. Often it's a warning sign. It's the resistance isn't to doing the thing. Here's the difference. If you have a vision, if you know what the thing is that you're supposed to be doing, then self-doubt doesn't tend to be as much of a factor, especially not in spaces where people have done personal development or where they've done growth work. Oftentimes what they're bumping into, I see it says Facebook user #live. Yes, if you click it's my first time trying to multi-stream. So if you hit the restream, it'll actually tell me who you are, and you can just dash and put your name. Anyway, if you want to get that into it with me. So I'll talk through this, but if there are any live questions, then I'll talk longer. And if not, I'll just say my thing and take the kids to Taekwondo, as we do, you know. Okay, so if you've done personal development and you're working on yourself, self-doubt doesn't tend to be a thing. Hello. Oh, I would love your thoughts on this. So I believe that self-doubt, what I've seen is that when things aren't aligned, when it's not exactly the right thing, it's a lot harder to move forward on and to do. And it's not self-doubt, it's doubt in whatever the project or the mission is. So depending on how you're setting your goals, your inspiration, what it is you're driving towards, my favorite people to work with, and everything that I do works best when there's a vision. So whether your vision is or your idea, or even like, let's say you don't have a full vision, but you're following the nudges and the breadcrumbs, right? If you're following those things, you're getting those from somewhere. Your higher self, God, the universe, whatever it is. So it's always the most fun to work with people that are following the right next step, right? But when you're doing that, self-doubt doesn't tend to factor in as much. I find that self-doubt factors in as a byproduct of following a should. So if you're following a should, following something, hello, Megan, if you're following something that is a should or a practical thing, self-doubt can creep in. Now, that's not to say, because I spent last weekend terrified, full anxiety, full physical anxiety, texting friends, which for me is a big thing, to actually reach out and be like, hey, I am experiencing something, right? But I've learned by now, reach out, contrary action. So reached out to friends, and it was very funny because anybody I reached out to was like, okay. So for me, the big thing was the realization that, so if people have hired me, they hired me for the business, and then every time they're like, oh, this is more than that. Oh, right. So, but it was never me acknowledging, oh, well, I am actually qualified, and I have this other skill set, and these are the things and the ways that I help people, and I'm actually a life and a business coach for high performers. I'm not just a lead gen coach, right? But that acknowledgement was terrifying because I never related to any of the coaches online. I don't, honestly, what box do I possibly fit in, right? I have 4 kids and we homeschool them, but I also run a business and I'm an actor. Like, I refuse, but I've always, in high school, my senior, I lettered in 3 things my senior year. I lettered in academics, cheerleading, and track and field. I don't know anybody else that got 3 letters. I've never fit into boxes, but that doesn't mean I haven't tried. So when I got I didn't fit into what I saw other people as coaches, especially in the coaching world. There's this there's so much importance around certifications. There all these things. It just made no sense to me. So I had the realization, but I also know, there's the saying that God doesn't and I always stumble over this. God doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called. Like, okay, I mean, I could chase. I literally had the talk with Jonathan. I go, because I love learning. I was like, do I need like a certification or something? And he's like, and we were like, no, we don't. Like, we recognize that that's a protection mechanism because I learn compulsively as it is. So for me, the thing that feels the most aligned is going like, and for me, I went into the planning. I love strategy. So for me, going, okay, what are all the things that I need in place to make this shift, to begin offering this, to make this announcement, right? So I go, I thank you for the comments and for typing things. I'm on a roll, so I can't read them, but I will. So I'm like, okay, what are the things that I need in place to announce this? And I'll tell you, there's other iterations of me that would have planned for weeks, mapped out all the things. And instead I was like, no, this needs to happen. I could feel that I needed to make the move because it's very easy when you have inspiration or an idea to spend time just in it. And what happens between the inspiration and the action, the longer it's like, are you picturing this? The longer the spread between inspiration and action, in between that inspiration and the motivation and the confidence just starts to sag. It's like a little string, right? So, or piece of yarn. It's like the longer you pull it, like suddenly instead of pulling taut, that feeling in between sags. So, and like, will you even get back up to this? You second guess yourself. When you receive the download or the inspiration, and not everything has to be, action doesn't have to be taken on everything. Sometimes it's an idea, and I know it's an idea that I need to sit on for a week. I know that, right? Actually, so I write those ideas down because I will tell you, my friend Tanya Smith does a weekly live show, and I was so inspired and impressed that I was like, Jonathan, I need to do a weekly show and I'm going to talk about all the things. He's like, Sasha, he's like, are you sure you need to? I was like, I know, I'll sit on it for a week. Now, the thing is I dove into what about that appealed to me. And I did like doing lives, and I liked the idea of showing up and talking with you all, but without the parameters but I would always, what do I talk about? Now here's where the self-doubt and the resistance came in. With the self-doubt and the resistance were because I wasn't giving myself permission to go, I am a life and a business coach. I was leaving out that part. I was like, well, if I'm a business coach and a homeschool mom, who am I to talk about mindset? That was the big thing. I wasn't giving myself permission because I had not admitted to myself that I wanted to. I talk about mindset all day long with the kids and the husband, and we process through all the things, but didn't occur to me, might help anybody online. Now, if we look, last year I did 51 days in a row of live videos, and the ones that did the best were the ones that were on mindset. for sure, about mindset. And some of them where I did, I called them teardowns of brands, like looking at a brand and here's everything that's good about it and here's what I would improve. Those both did well. But I am also a fan of, if something feels like it's not working, then take a break, come back to it, like evaluate this process of working in alignment and evaluating, because sometimes things aren't meant to work forever. Sometimes things are meant to work to get you to the next step. So resistance, self-doubt. When you're feeling resistance to something, oftentimes people think it's self-doubt or lack of motivation or lack of inspiration, but it's just, in what I see, having worked with a number of people over the past year and a half, is that when the idea works, the thing is easy to sell. And half the time it's even the same thing. Like, okay, the difference between what I sold for a year and a half versus what I'm offering now, which, by the way, so I'm doing a masterclass and I'll talk about it then, but if you want to work with me, message me, because I'm doing ladder pricing and it's only 3 months, because I'm starting lower than, I'm not pricing based on result. And I know that what I'm starting my pricing on, while it's still high ticket, it's not as high as it could be or should be. And I don't personally want to lock myself into 6 months or 12 months at lower price points. I want to give the ability to get fully booked out and then raise it. So if you already know that you love what I'm saying and you believe in yourself, and you believe that you trust me, but you believe that you can follow through on a transformation, then do message me and let's talk. But I will tell you that, so I managed a tanning salon at one point. Jonathan and I, when we met waiting tables, and he and I were the top 2 salespeople. We would compete. Of course, he always made more money, which is so annoying. But we would compete. We worked together at 4 restaurants, competing on who would sell the most on a given day. We would compete for bottles of wine, even though we're both sober, because we just love that. So, and when I managed a tanning salon, I had the highest sales over 7. So I have no issue with selling. However, I never felt confident selling the blueprint stuff. But I can tell you that the only difference in the framework is that I'm adding on, if you're viewing it as a pyramid, I'm adding the personal and life piece at the bottom of the pyramid. Or if you're viewing it as a funnel, the very top piece that everything has to funnel through is you, your identity, the identity you're creating, your life, right? So, or it's the base of the pyramid. Either way, that's the piece I'm adding in. Everything else is the same. We can review all of the different things, but it's 100 times easier for me to talk about. I am super excited to sell it. And the people, like, I never felt comfortable saying to people, oh, I'd love to support you. But people, like, I can see who would be the ideal client. I can literally, I've messaged people like, by the way, I've now, I'm like, can I say I've come out of this closet? Does that work here? Anyway, saying that I'm now admitting that I am actually a life and business coach. So I would love to support you if that's something you're interested in. I never would have done that in the past because it wasn't self-doubt. It was just not alignment. And it wasn't full alignment. So how do you come to your own full alignment? I mean, honestly, I'm like, how do you come to it? You need to have somebody who you could admit the biggest, boldest, most daring things to, who is going to be like, F yes, you can do it. Let's do it. Obviously. And I'm like, and I'm that person. But you need to have somebody to do that with. And so I was on a Zoom Friday with one of my friends, just chatting through my messaging and stuff. And then we chatted through theirs today. And it's actually really funny because we had to end the call. They had another call and I'm like on fire about what we came up with for this person. And I'm really hoping they use it as is. Like literally it all came. But if you had told me 2 years ago, I had this person on such a pedestal that I never would have believed that I would be on a call as friends going, okay, I can see into your life and business, and here's actually what's really underneath, and here's what you need to talk about, and here's how you need to talk about it, knowing you and how people will react to you or the messaging. So that's really cool. I mean, so much can happen in a short period of time, as long as whatever those scary things are, you're just continuing to step into them. So, self-doubt, do we really doubt ourselves if it's fully in alignment? I don't know, because I think that when things are really fully in alignment, you feel the fire. Like, you feel it, and I don't think you have any choice but to take the next action. So, yeah, it's I'm laughing because does everybody have somebody that they can talk to? I don't know. So there's also that, like, but I'm going to assume if you're watching this and you're still watching it, then maybe you need that for you, in which case, then it's probably safe to say, unless you're a hate watching this far in, you probably like me and you probably trust me, and then we should talk. Yeah, I think that's it's like I always think about the what ifs, but that is so how can you process through, find that, create that thing, because the thing that is, and I love the idea when you put the language to it, it makes it easier. And sometimes you'll find it's the whole concept of this spiral learning. Sometimes you'll find that you're right back at a lot of my messaging right now is messaging that I used when I was in the MLM world. Some of it is exactly the same, but now I'm not selling somebody else's products or promoting, now it's like, cuz back then I was really into the idea of lifestyle design, because I did. When I first started the MLM world, I was waiting tables, and I was then within a year-ish, I was pregnant with the first kid, and I didn't want to go back to waiting tables. I wanted to create in a life on my terms, but then for years it just wasn't something that was. I don't know, that it just didn't. It seemed possible, but it didn't seem possible in the way that I wanted. Let me know if that makes sense. Yes, I believed I could do lifestyle design, but I didn't believe that I could show up on the internet and talk about the things that I love to talk about and study and do all of the things and make money as a byproduct of that, supporting people through the same things. That never occurred to me. That seemed like something that blonde ladies who had 9-to-5 jobs could do. That did not seem like it was something that was possible for me. I am this comment. Okay. Anyway, that just didn't seem like something that was possible. So instead, I was still following other rules, other ideas. So what does it look like for you watching? What does it look like for you to create the intersection of all the things you love that bring you joy, and to let that generate all the possibility in the world for you? Because this is the internet, and that's exactly what you can do. What does that look like for you? And if you could do that, do you really think that self-doubt would even be a thing? Anyway, I'm going to check comments really, really fast and see if there's any questions. And otherwise, let me check all these. Oh, did I show you? If you're still watching, ready for my high tech? Ready? I mean, I guess I don't have to make a silly face when I do it, but how funny is that? Jonathan and his tech skills. Okay. I love this. Do the show. So I think I will do more lives, and if you have questions for me, please do message them, because I like to respond to. I want to talk about things that interest me, but more importantly, things that are helpful and interesting for you, because otherwise there isn't any point to me going live. There's enough There are enough things on the internet to entertain everybody. Okay, I think I'm caught up. I don't think I see any questions. And now my next step of the evening is to figure out how to turn off this live. Okay, I'll talk to you all soon.